Students gather at the high school ceremony as an official calls Anbai forward to begin his talent evaluation. Anbai follows the instructor's command to place his hand onto the massive, glowing stone pillar. The ancient stone erupts in vibrant green light, manifesting his official rank and classification as a mage. The proctor announces his specific score to the crowd while Anbai pulls away, stunned by his results. Nearby onlookers mock Anbai for his low score while envying the incredible power his talented girlfriend recently awakened. Liu Ruyan consoles him by revealing her superior mage ranking and vows to protect him from any danger. Anbai dismisses her concerns with a calm look, hiding his true thoughts from the judgmental crowd. A dark and massive power looms within his mind, signaling a secret strength exceeding his official score. A demonic invasion devastates the planet, confining the remaining human population to the safety of small city-states. The world grants survivors unique magical talents to help them defend humanity as newly awakened class holders. These individuals are sorted into 6 core classes, including warriors, priests, and mages, based on their specific abilities. An aptitude scale determines their destiny, separating average students from the rare prodigies capable of reaching god-level power. During practice, Anbai releases a faint magical spark at the range, confirming his status as an ordinary mage. He grows discouraged upon realizing his mediocre score prevents him from ever becoming a legendary magic overlord. Liu Ruyan suggests that he transition into a support role to manage her complex logistics during future missions. Anbai offers no reply, staring ahead silently as he processes the weight of her patronizing suggestion. Anbai firmly declares his intent to become a mage, causing a look of utter disbelief from Liu Ruyan. The surrounding students burst into laughter and mock his perceived lack of any real magical talent. Despite the ridicule, he cleans his wooden staff and ponders purchasing better equipment to prove his true worth. Liu Ruyan dismisses him coldly, deciding he has squandered his only opportunity to remain by her side. Anbai enters the class transition hall, where an elder questions his risky decision to pursue the mage class. The counselor warns him about his limited resources and the lack of support for low-ranking mages. Although he acknowledges the limitations of his weak talent, Anbai maintains a secret, unwavering determination to succeed. He approaches a mysterious chained artifact, placing his trust in one last hope to alter his destiny. Anbai informs his teacher of his final choice, while a hidden system notification prepares to activate. The teacher relents and instructs him to enter the magic circle for his official baptism of energy. While Anbai approaches the portal, the elder watches with silent disapproval, labeling him as another misguided youth. Vibrant blue energy envelops him, completing the class transition and triggering a mysterious power within his soul. As the ritual continues, the teacher reacts with sudden shock while watching the intense magical energy swirl around. A system notification confirms the successful transition, officially designating Anbai as a mere magic apprentice. The interface displays his first learned skill, revealing that he has only mastered the most basic elementary fireball. The instructor sighs in disappointment, noting that Anbai has failed to reach the rank of a true mage. Anbai smirks with newfound confidence as the mysterious system finally activates within his mind. A golden vortex erupts around him, confirming the successful binding of a unique skill affix system. He interacts with the interface to execute his first legendary draw and claim his reward. He obtains a legendary explosion affix, allowing him to apply powerful attributes directly to his spells. Anbai marvels at the golden rarity of his new explosion affix, which grants him immense destructive potential. He then fuses this legendary attribute into his basic fireball spell, hoping to transcend his low apprentice ranking. The modified spell's damage increases 100-fold, prompting him to seek a secluded place for testing. He arrives at the school's rear mountain, overlooking a vast canyon where he can safely unleash his power. Anbai discovers the newcomer trial ground hidden deep within the school's rear mountain during his initial exploration. He equips himself with a set of newcomer gear to prepare for the upcoming monster hunt. As he runs toward the portal, his classmates watch with skepticism while assuming he will rely on others. Anbai focuses on the low-level monsters ahead, ready to test his legendary new power in battle. Anbai reaches the trial entrance, eager to finally test the hidden power of his modified fireball spell in combat. He suddenly trips and falls directly at the feet of Liu Ruyan, who watches him with cold indifference. She then offers to carry him through the trial for shared experience, but Anbai firmly rejects her proposal. He bluntly explains that he only ran toward her because she was standing directly in the trial's entrance. Liu Ruyan seethes in silence as she realizes that Enbai's public rejection has tarnished her perfectly crafted reputation. Teacher Wang warns Enbai to remain cautious inside the trial, emphasizing the importance of safety above all else. The instructor sighs with worry, observing that the boy located the hidden grounds without any official guidance. Enbai steps into the radiant blue portal, vanishing into the dark forest to begin his first magical challenge. Enbai spots a level 1 mutated rabbit from behind a tree and observes its statistics with intense focus. He recalls the origins of these corrupted beasts and decides to launch a cautious sneak attack from shadows. Acting quickly, he gathers his mana to manifest a basic fireball, aiming directly at the unsuspecting creature. The projectile moves quite slowly toward the agile target, revealing the inherent limitations of his current magic rank. The mutated rabbit easily dodges the slow fireball, yet the spell strikes the ground right before its eyes. The legendary affix triggers a violent blast that completely overwhelms the creature with an immense wall of fire. Following the detonation, Enbai estimates a 10-meter radius while confirming the monster's death through his updated system interface. He realizes that even a slow attack becomes lethal when paired with such a devastating and uncontrollable explosion. Enbai dons his hood and decides to begin power leveling now that he understands his explosive magical skill. He sprints deep into the dark woods to find a suitable location for gathering a large group of monsters. A massive mutated boar crashes through the thick brush, signaling the arrival of the first aggressive target. Observing their low intelligence, Enbai lures the entire pack into a tight formation to maximize his next magical blast. Enbai chants his incantation to summon a basic fireball, aiming it carefully toward the pack of charging beasts. The small orb descends into the center of the herd, catching the low-level monsters completely off guard. The legendary affix triggers a cataclysmic blast that incinerates the entire group of boars in a pillar of fire. The system confirms 16 kills, granting him a massive experience boost as he moves to the next area. Massive explosions rock the forest as Enbai clears the area, successfully reaching level 2 in the process. He triggers a new affix draw and is surprised to receive the exact same legendary explosion attribute again. While he questions the duplicate result, a system notification reveals that getting the same affix grants a bonus draw. Enbai celebrates the unexpected freebie, eager to see what powerful new ability he will gain next. Enbai receives a legendary tenfold affix from his bonus draw, further enhancing his already formidable magical capabilities. Discovering that affixes stack, he fuses the new attribute into his fireball to create an even deadlier attack. A menacing creature with glowing eyes lurks in the shadows, silently observing the young mage's immense growth. He manifests a gargantuan fireball that now delivers 300 times its original damage to any unfortunate targets. Enbai rests by a warm campfire while roasting mutated meat, which slowly enhances his experience and physical attributes. While eating his meal, he reflects on his progress after clearing nearly all the mutated monsters in the mountain. He surveys the scorched craters left behind, noting that his relentless hunting has finally brought him to level 4. Recalling a recent bear ambush, he directs his system to reapply the powerful tenfold affix to his primary skill. Enbai discovers that applying the tenfold affix to his passives dramatically increases his core stats to superhuman levels. He notes that his new fireball upgrades remove both cooldowns and casting times for a truly rapid fire attack. He begins walking toward more dangerous territories since the local mountain monsters no longer provide enough experience. He checks his watch to track his progress while continuing his journey toward the next trial of strength. Teachers Lai Feng and Wang observe the unusual speed of monster eliminations during this year's school trial. Their conversation is interrupted by a panicked student screaming for help from within the dangerous trial grounds. In an instant, the terrified boy leaps through the portal while the instructors turn in sheer astonishment. After catching him, the teachers offer comfort and inquire about the chaos occurring at the forest's edge. The panicked student explains to Teacher Wang that a massive horde of mutated beasts is stampeding toward the periphery. The instructor orders his colleague to expand the teleportation portal immediately to ensure all students can escape safely. Enbai wanders through a deserted area and wonders why he cannot find any other students nearby. Terrified students rush toward the shimmering exit while expressing confusion over the sudden and violent monster frenzy. A massive wave of mutated beasts charges across the landscape, creating a chaotic stampede toward the forest's outer periphery. Watching from a high rocky outcrop, Enbai calmly observes the passing horde from a safe and commanding vantage point. He realizes the monsters fled to the boundary and calculates that defeating them will finally grant him level 5. The instructors stand vigilantly by the glowing portal, anxiously monitoring the situation as more students flee the danger. And Bai steps through the blue teleportation portal, emerging safely from the dangerous trial grounds after his successful hunt. Teacher Wang expresses his immense relief and questions the boy about how he avoided the rampaging beast horde. After Nbai provides a vague excuse, the instructor dismisses him while reminding him to prepare for the upcoming exam. Nbai walks away unnoticed, satisfied that the teachers are too disinterested in his progress to appraise his stats. Nbai reaches level 5 and triggers his system, noting that keeping his power secret remains his main priority. He successfully draws a new legendary golden affix known as Corpse Explosion, expanding his deadly magical arsenal. He walks away from the trial grounds while his staff clicks rhythmically against the dry, parched earth. Liu Ruyan bites her lip in frustration as she watches him leave, clearly unsettled by his newfound confidence. Liu Ruyan searches the barren trial grounds, expressing her frustration after finding that all the monsters have mysteriously vanished. Nbai travels to the city at night and visits a specialized marketplace to search for new magical skills. As he browses the shops, he stops to examine a massive advertisement showcasing a powerful and expensive ice storm spell. He laments the high cost of magic, realizing that advancing as a mage requires significant financial resources. Nbai approaches the registration desk at the guild to request the activation of his personal dungeon card. A mysterious cloaked man inquires if he is a freshman who recently awakened his magical powers today. The receptionist hands him a formal document to record his specific high school and character class. A nearby warrior reacts with interest upon hearing that the boy is a mage from First High. Nbai looks around the guild hall as rowdy adventurers celebrate their winnings from a recent gambling session. A veteran warrior congratulates Nbai for reaching level 5 so quickly while revealing they share the same school. The man gives him 3 beginner recovery potions as a token of goodwill for their shared academic history. Nbai realizes the group was betting on his success and stares at the gifted items with quiet suspicion. The adventurer confirms that his winning bet correctly predicted the arrival of a freshman mage from First High. Nbai politely thanks the man for the potions, although his informal greeting briefly offends the warrior. The warrior introduces himself as Zhao Rushan and offers power leveling services if the boy ever needs help. Zhao explains that the guild often places bets on the specific dungeon maps chosen and their clearance times. Zhao Rushan explains the gambling environment while smoking, noting that veteran adventurers will no longer place their bets carelessly. Nbai holds a potion aloft while daringly proposing a high-stakes bet on clearing the lethal Purgatory dungeon. Zhao chokes on his smoke and sternly warns the young mage against risking his life on such madness. Despite the warning, Nbai remains completely focused, his sharp gaze reflecting a hidden resolve to tackle the impossible challenge. Zhao Rushan gazes intently at the young mage, finally recognizing the sheer audacity behind his high-stakes dungeon proposal. He then extinguishes his cigarette while asking for the boy's name, mentioning the bet's staggering 500,000 yuan value. Nbai notices the receptionist's nervous demeanor, suspecting the guild is afraid he might welch on his debts. Nbai walks away while raising his dungeon card, vowing to secure massive benefits for everyone involved today. Zhao and the receptionist speculate on Nbai's mysterious background, wondering if he descends from a hidden aristocratic lineage. Nbai approaches the portal and intentionally selects the highest purgatory difficulty for his solo dungeon challenge. Zhao watches with pure shock, realizing he must align himself with this powerful and fearless young prodigy. Nbai steps into the glowing red magic circle and teleports into the heart of the monster-infested zone. The dungeon challenge officially begins, presenting Nbai with a series of increasingly difficult quests to complete for survival. Without a map to guide him, he decides to follow the highest concentration of insects to locate the hidden nest. A level 7 gold-winged insect emerges from the tall grass, signaling the start of the first brutal engagement. He quickly charges his magic while swarms of massive, armored creatures close in on him from every possible direction. Nbai unleashes a massive fireball at the swarm, attempting to incinerate the flying monsters with one powerful strike. He notices the insect's sturdy armor prevents fatal damage, necessitating a more concentrated second blast for total destruction. He focuses his energy again to deliver a finishing blow that will penetrate their thick, green defensive carapaces. The subsequent explosion shatters the monster's formation and covers the ground in the smoking remains of the hive. and Bai witnesses a massive green blast erupting from the fallen monsters, signaling the activation of a hidden power. He realizes with shock that his recently acquired explosive attribute is causing the defeated enemies to detonate violently. The system interface confirms that fallen monsters now act as catalysts for devastating chain reactions across the battlefield. A toxic green mist envelops the area as the entire swarm is obliterated by the relentless secondary explosions. And Bai walks through the desolate village while strategizing how to use corpse explosions to trigger a lethal chain reaction. A massive wall of fire erupts around him, signaling the successful activation of his primary explosive magic skills. The intense heat incinerates nearby enemies as the terrain collapses under the weight of his overwhelming destructive power. The fallen monsters detonate in a series of toxic green blasts, completing the devastating cycle of his strategic plan. And Bai strides calmly through the thick smoke and settling dust remaining from his recent, overwhelming magical display. He observes the charred remains of the insect swarm, noting how perfectly the corpse explosion clears out massive groups. The young mage pauses and narrows his eyes as a faint, ominous sound echoes from the dark shadows ahead. He discovers a pair of glowing green eyes peering from a nearby crevice, signaling the arrival of something stronger. And Bai discovers the densely packed insect nest and notes that their close proximity simplifies his next attack. He raises his wand to gather a massive amount of magical energy for a single, decisive finishing blow. The aggressive swarms of yellow-winged insects begin to fly upward to defend their territory from the intruder. He drops a concentrated fireball into the dark abyss to trigger a cataclysmic explosion within the monster hive. And Bai channels a surge of green magical energy as he deepens his assault on the dangerous insect nest. Zhao Rushan watches the status board with a tense expression, sensing the immense risk of his massive gamble. He prays for the young mage's survival while the total betting pool surpasses 1 million yuan in value. He recklessly adds more money to his wager, ignoring the insults from the skeptical adventurers surrounding the table. The receptionist pauses in surprise as she notices a sudden, unprecedented update appearing on the guild's main leaderboard. The display confirms that Bai has cleared the Purgatory difficulty with a perfect SSS rank. The guild hall erupts into chaos while stunned adventurers discuss the mysterious newcomer's impossible and historic achievement. Zhao Rushan celebrates his massive winnings and demands that his fellow gamblers honor their high-stakes betting agreements. And Bai stands victoriously atop a hill as the dungeon concludes, overlooking the landscape as the simulation ends. Multiple system notifications appear to congratulate him on reaching level 7 and unlocking rare reward chests. 2 radiant chests materialize before him, promising incredible loot for his historic first clear of the Purgatory difficulty. He opens the purple chest, which erupts in brilliant light while revealing a bounty of rare magical artifacts. And Bai opens a gold dungeon chest and receives a rare Purgatory Walker badge for his efforts. He examines the growth-type equipment, realizing he is only the 81st person to ever receive it. He equips the badge to boost all his core statistics while marveling at his incredible newfound strength. He prepares to use his remaining 2 gold modifier draws, eager to further enhance his magical abilities. And Bai successfully obtains legendary gold skill modifiers for flame and teleportation through his hidden system interface. Director Lai questions the top students about their unusually fast clearing speed and potential area of effect abilities. Liu Ruyan denies any involvement and reports that the monsters had already vanished before they arrived. Teacher Wang rushes over to the group to alert Director Lai about an urgent and unexpected development. Director Lai dismisses the remaining students before turning to address the flustered and breathless Teacher Wang. Wang then excitedly reports that a level 5 prodigy from another school successfully cleared a legendary high-level dungeon. Director Lai skeptically adjusts his glasses while comparing the incredible feat to his own past performance. Wang insists on the truth, emphasizing that the student mastered the impossible Purgatory difficulty in 1 hour. And Bai defeats elite knights in a dark dungeon, clearing the way forward with his overwhelming magical power. He then proceeds deeper while carrying a torch, determined to maximize his daily dungeon rewards before time runs out. As he enters the next chamber, a cloaked archer watches from the shadows, preparing to ambush the lone intruder. The hidden enemy unleashes a flurry of arrows, forcing the young mage to react quickly to the assault. And Bai dodges a flurry of magic arrows with incredible speed, narrowly avoiding the lethal projectiles in the dark dungeon. He performs a swift mid-air roll to reposition himself while maintaining a firm focus on his elusive target. After sticking a perfect landing, he quickly channels his energy to prepare a devastating blast against the hidden elite archer. He unleashes a powerful fireball that incinerates his opponent, confirming the successful kill of the level 6 enemy. And Bai drinks a health potion while deciding to purchase a defensive skill book after exiting the dungeon area. He then reaches a massive stone gate as swarms of bats circle through the cold and shadowy dungeon depths. He moves through the cavern as bats chitter loudly above the sharp, menacing rocks lining his path. A mysterious ornate chest sits before him, capped with a glowing red jewel that signals hidden treasures within. And Bai enters a colossal, glowing arena where a massive stone warhammer hangs suspended from the high ceiling. He walks carefully across the polished floor, his footsteps echoing through the silent chamber as he approaches the weapon. A hidden mechanism triggers a sharp metallic sound, signaling that the dungeon's guardian is finally awakening for battle. The giant hammer erupts in brilliant purple light and begins to descend rapidly toward the young, startled mage. And Bai realizes he is trapped as the heavy dungeon door slams shut behind him with a deafening clang. He tenses up upon sensing the overwhelming presence of a powerful boss unit looming in the shadows. A massive armored hand tightly grips a heavy weapon while the ancient guardian finally awakens from its slumber. The Black Iron Giant King declares his doom while the young mage prepares for the most dangerous battle yet. The boss unleashes a devastating whirlwind attack, trapping and Bai within a lethal circle of ice and steel. The young mage recognizes the cramped space and decides he must defeat the giant in a single burst. He fearlessly dives toward the massive opponent while channeling every ounce of his explosive magical power. A colossal explosion erupts against the boss's armored chest, shattering his defenses and ending the fierce encounter. The wounded giant roars in fury while Anbai surrounds him with several floating fireballs to continue his assault. The young mage realizes his current spells are too weak to penetrate the giant's massive and reinforced armor. He decides to exploit the sluggish movements of the titan by maintaining distance and kiting him across the room. Anbai's expression shifts to pure terror as he realizes he has been cornered by a devastating counterattack. The giant boss smashes his massive weapon into the ground, narrowly missing the agile mage in a spray of stone. A violent explosion erupts from the impact point, nearly catching Anbai within the searing heat of his own magic. While the smoke clears, he realizes the titan cleverly redirected a delayed fireball to use as a trap against him. Anbai catches his breath while acknowledging the unexpected intelligence of his dangerous and massive opponent. Anbai observes the massive guardian and suddenly formulates a clever tactical plan to secure his victory. He then commands his system to apply the flame and teleport modifiers to his core magical abilities. He triggers rapid-fire explosions to agitate the swarms of bats circling the high ceiling. He uses the concussive blasts to steer the flying monsters toward the boss for a final explosion. Anbai seizes the moment to trigger his trap while the swarming bats descend directly onto the massive giant. A violent explosion erupts from the cluster of monsters, engulfing the guardian in a wall of searing flame. The fallen creatures trigger a series of lethal corpse explosions that penetrate the giant's heavy and reinforced armor. Anbai unleashes a final concentrated blast of magical energy to finish the battle and claim his victory. Anbai notices his fireball proficiency increases after executing his precise tactical plan during the difficult boss encounter. The giant's heavy armor shatters into pieces as the overwhelming magical pressure takes a significant physical toll. The Black Iron Giant King screams in agony while radiant light pierces through his massive, crumbling stone frame. The guardian curses humanity while his form dissolves into swirling purple energy, marking his absolute and total defeat. A violent explosion rocks the arena's floor, while Anbai uses his teleportation modifier to safely bypass enemy attacks. The boss's massive warhammer shatters into pieces under the intense pressure of the mage's powerful explosive energy. A system notification confirms the boss's defeat and rewards him with massive experience and a rare dungeon chest. Anbai reaches level 8 while his core attributes surge, granting him yet another opportunity to draw unique modifiers. Anbai opens the purple chest, obtaining a high-value mount contract alongside several other useful dungeon rewards. He examines the rare scroll while considering the strategic benefits of using a loyal, flying companion. In addition, he soars through the sky on a blue dragon, drastically reducing his travel time to distant lands. He returns to the system interface to pull another modifier, hoping to further increase his magical power. Anbai draws another tenfold modifier and a legendary Crimson Lotus skill to enhance his fire magic. He applies these powerful upgrades to his basic class and fireball spell to improve his combat effectiveness. The system confirms his fireball now deals unblockable burn damage, drastically increasing his overall destructive potential. He walks toward the exit while planning to trade his extra loot for a much-needed spatial storage ring. Anbai drops his heavy backpack and collapses in exhaustion after clearing every level 5 dungeon. He reflects on his progress while planning to sell the mountain of loot he collected today. He experiences a sharp realization, recalling the massive gambling debt still owed to him by the adventurers. He stands atop his gear to scan the crowd, ensuring the gamblers have not disappeared with his winnings. Zhao Rushan spots Anbai and enthusiastically greets him for successfully clearing 5 dungeons and breaking every single record. Even though Anbai mentions his younger age, the veteran warrior insists that such incredible strength earns absolute respect. Zhao hands over a payment card while detailing the massive bets he placed during the dungeon raids. Anbai reacts with disbelief as he learns the card contains nearly 2 million yuan in total winnings. Zhao celebrates the victory while warning Anbai about a gambler who lost half of the total payout. He identifies the man as a powerful assassin and cautions Anbai to prepare for potential revenge. Nevertheless, Anbai waves goodbye and generously gifts the veteran all the valuable monster remains and dungeon items. Zhao stands in total disbelief as he realizes the gifted treasures are actually worth an absolute fortune. Anbai gazes at the city lights at night, contemplating the massive fortune he earned from his recent dungeon runs. He then carefully examines his expensive new gear, including a ruby ring, an amulet, and several rare skill books. While resting in his room, he reflects on the staggering cost of 3 million yuan required to equip a mage. He opens his new manual, determined to convert his massive financial investment into absolute and unrivaled personal strength. Anbai studies a new grimoire to learn a defensive shield skill that compensates for his low physical endurance. He holds his new staff while admiring the defensive benefits granted by the items recently retrieved from the dungeon. He channels his mana to bind a powerful purple artifact, surrounding himself with swirling ribbons of golden magical energy. A translucent golden shield manifests behind him, providing the extra protection needed for his upcoming journey into the wilderness. Anbai arrives at the massive city gate under the bright morning sun to begin his next journey. The armored city guards cross their polearms to block his path, signaling a mandatory security check. They question his decision to leave, doubting whether a low-level basic mage can survive the dangerous wilderness alone. Anbai confidently presents his credentials while stepping forward, undeterred by the guard's skeptical and patronizing warnings. Anbai pays the required 10,000 yuan exit fee while the guard explains emergency distress protocols. He passes through the glowing portal as the sentries warn him to return before the nocturnal beast's frenzy. A desolate battlefield stretches for hundreds of miles outside, accessible only through specialized short-distance teleportation arrays. He enters the mutated wilderness, where one careless move among the lethal plants ensures a swift death. Anbai navigates the eerie forest where technology fails, but his magical system provides crucial survival information. A patrol of hungry goblins bickers about their lack of food while sensing nearby human intruders. Observing from a high ridge, Anbai uses his appraisal skill to identify the levels of the monstrous warriors. He notes the limitations of his basic inspection while preparing to engage the unsuspecting goblin pack below. Anbai leaps into action from his vantage point, determined to begin hunting monsters for valuable experience. He unleashes a devastating fireball that erupts into a massive, searing explosion upon impact. A surviving goblin recoils in sheer terror, stunned by the sudden presence of a powerful human mage. The creature cowers while Anbai looms over the battlefield, his presence radiating an overwhelming and terrifying power. Anbai watches the panicked goblin flee, intentionally allowing it to escape so it leads him to the main camp. A sentry in the watchtower screams an alarm to alert the entire tribe of the humans' arrival. The goblin leader frantically commands his warriors to swarm and eliminate the approaching intruder at any cost. Anbai strides forward through the eerie shadows, enveloped in a swirling aura of dark, lethal magical energy. A goblin with glowing red eyes watches intently as the human intruder approaches the hidden encampment. A massive creature blows a horn to signal a call to arms for the entire tribe. A violent explosion shatters the stone watchtower, signaling the beginning of the human magical assault. A frenzied horde of goblins charges forward, screaming in a desperate attempt to overwhelm their enemy. The goblin archers and warriors launch rocks and arrows at Anbai as he stands his ground. The projectiles bounce harmlessly off his massive telekinetic shield, which successfully absorbs every single incoming strike. The mage observes that his shield remains fully intact, completely nullifying the impact of the desperate goblin assault. An agile goblin strikes from above, yet its blade merely sparks against the impenetrable barrier protecting the mage. A goblin's heavy axe strikes the golden shield, but it only causes a single point of damage. The monster gasps in total disbelief as he realizes his strongest attack was completely useless against the mage. The mage offers a mock apology while casually waving his hand behind the barrier, signaling his upcoming counterattack. He triggers a violent explosion that incinerates the entire group of goblins in a wall of searing fire. Green energy surges through the goblin camp, causing the monsters to scream in sheer terror and panic. A massive chain explosion erupts, sending a series of vibrant green blasts echoing across the entire battlefield. A mysterious assassin pauses to observe the distant destruction, his eyes narrowing as he senses the immense power. His companion compares the thunderous noise to a high-tier flame skill, marveling at the unknown powerhouse nearby. And Bai stands cautiously near a massive, cracked boulder, while surveying the eerie and desolate mountain landscape. Nearby, a red-eyed goblin hides behind the rocks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike his unsuspecting target. The creature then signals his companions, who greedily plot to kill the intruder for a significant royal reward. The entire pack erupts into a ferocious roar as they lunge forward to surround the isolated human mage. And Bai notes the goblin's teamwork but dismisses their efforts as futile against his own absolute magical strength. He then performs an instant cast, sending a wave of powerful magical explosions through the entire enemy rank. A goblin's spear bounces harmlessly off his shimmering shield while he remains perfectly calm under pressure. He delivers a decisive blow with his glowing staff, incinerating the remaining monsters in a final, brilliant burst, and Bai eliminates 34 goblins, causing his experience bar to surge significantly toward the next power level. He reviews his map and reflects on his incredible speed while clearing the entire monster encampment solo. In addition, he discovers a pile of loot containing gold, scrolls, and a rare, glowing purple crystal nearby. He examines the valuable gem, realizing its high market price is reserved for only the top elite members. And Bai collects valuable loot, noting that combat classes earn money much faster than lifestyle professions despite the inherent risks. He then gazes toward a distant mountain bridge, suspecting a much larger goblin stronghold remains hidden further into the wilderness. A massive creature collapses in the background while a hidden observer calls out to his companion to confirm their target. The vengeful assassin identifies Bai as the one who caused his recent demotion and massive debt to the guild. While cloaked stalkers observe from the trees, they debate attacking the boy despite his powerful family connections. Bai stretches in relief upon reaching level 10 and decides to seek shelter for the night. The system displays his massive stat increases and newly unlocked abilities, highlighting his rapid magical growth. The mysterious figures decide to tail him further away from the city while questioning his true origins. Bai finds a secluded cave to rest for the night, seeking safety far away from the dangerous forest. Sitting by a warm campfire, he then commands his magical system to draw 2 brand new powerful skill traits. Brilliant lights swirl as the system manifests the rare, mystical abilities he has recently earned. He obtains a legendary unyielding trait and a mythic substitute to protect him from any lethal harm. Bai stares at the interface in pure shock, realizing he has discovered a power tier far beyond legendary. He ponders how to best utilize this unprecedented power despite it being a trait rather than a skill. He then analyzes his current abilities to find the perfect slot for this top-tier red mythic attribute. He assigns the rare trait to a passive skill, ensuring its permanent benefits bolster his overall combat strength. Bai evaluates the mythic trait's potential to revive him multiple times as his power continues to grow. A lethal projectile whistles through the dark cavern, targeting the young mage in a calculated and silent ambush. He instantly summons a telekinetic shield to deflect the strike while demanding his hidden attacker reveal themselves. A cloaked figure emerges from the shadows to mock Bai's isolation, confirming the arrival of a dangerous foe. The lead assassin demands that Bai surrender his recent gambling winnings in exchange for his life. Bai then warns the criminals of the city guards, but they remain unfazed by his empty threat. The thief reveals that help is too far away to reach the secluded cave in time. The bandits surround him while their leader prepares to strike down the defenseless young mage for good. Bai adjusts his hood with a smirk, confidently dismissing the threat and noting the ample time remaining. A swift assassin lunges through the shadows, arrogantly assuming the lone mage will be a simple victim. Enbai conjures a massive fireball that erupts into the path of the unsuspecting and reckless attacker. A blinding golden explosion fills the entire cave, incinerating the ambushing thieves with overwhelming and lethal power. The assassin's expensive life-saving talisman shatters under the pressure of Enbai's overwhelming and lethal magical attack. The thief gasps for air while lamenting that a mere novice forced him to expend his defense. The magical energy swirls violently as the defeated attacker struggles to recover from the impact of the strike. Enbai stands victoriously over his enemy while noting that the bandit simply underestimated his immense magical strength. The wounded assassin realizes that Enbai is the mysterious mage who previously unleashed the Tier 3 Fire Blast. Enbai mockingly denies possessing such advanced abilities while casually preparing his next lethal magical strike. Intense flames engulf the screaming thief as the young mage finally releases his overwhelming and destructive power. The fire subsides to reveal empty, scorched earth, confirming that the attacker has been completely turned to ash. Enbai appreciates the utility of his corpse explosion skill for destroying evidence as he departs the battle site. A sinister pool of shadowy liquid begins to form silently on the ground behind the departing mage. A lethal blade of dark energy erupts from the void, striking toward Enbai with terrifyingly swift precision. The young man cries out in agony when the shadow assassination attempt pierces through his upper torso. The shadow assassin stabs Enbai from behind, causing the young mage to cry out in sudden pain. The assassin laughs while explaining that his previously defeated form was merely a decoy shadow clone. He mocks the fallen boy's naivety before reaching down to claim his valuable treasures and hidden strength. A wooden substitute suddenly replaces Enbai's body, revealing his rare mythic trait has successfully saved his life. Enbai reappears behind the stunned assassin and acknowledges the lethal effectiveness of the high-level shadow clone technique. He unleashes a massive firestorm to incinerate the criminal, preventing any chance of another stealthy escape. Following the initial blast, Enbai triggers multiple secondary explosions to ensure no remaining clones can survive his onslaught. A thunderous eruption collapses the cavern entrance, burying the threat beneath a mountain of scorched debris and dust. Enbai examines the scattered debris of the assassin's belongings, noting the complete destruction of his valuable spatial ring. He reflects on the lethal unpredictability of fellow class holders, whose bizarre methods remain incredibly difficult to anticipate. He realizes that rapid leveling provides his only true opportunity to survive future encounters with such dangerous enemies. He discovers a pulsing purple fissure in the ground, stopping to investigate the mysterious energy emanating from below. Enbai activates his appraisal skill to examine the mysterious purple rift that appeared amidst the shattered cavern ruins. The system reveals he has accidentally unearthed a rare secret realm known as the Demon King's Burial Ground. While he processes the entry requirements for this multiplayer zone, a sudden shout from behind interrupts his quiet discovery. He spins around with his staff ready as several figures approach him through the hazy, dimly lit forest. Enbai sighs while realizing he needs 3 additional party members to unlock the massive secret realm portal. He sends a digital invitation to Zhao, requesting a team of low-level warriors for the dangerous mission. Zhao Rushan arrives at the cave entrance and calls out to locate the young mage's position. Enbai offers a warm smile while welcoming the reinforcements to begin their exploration of the burial ground. Zhao apologizes for the delay and introduces his sister, Zhao Jiqing, and her classmate, Si Ying, to the group. Both women recently underwent class transitions and joined the party to gain essential experience within the dangerous burial ground. Enbai warmly welcomes his new teammates, asking them to dispense with formalities and simply use his first name. He guides the party through the shadows of the cave until they arrive at the shimmering magical portal. Enbai informs the group he will handle the combat alone while offering everyone a fair share of rewards. Zhao whispers to his skeptical sister that they are merely present to fulfill the portal's entry requirements. Zhao declines his experience share, explaining that gaining more points is useless at his level cap. The team steps into the shimmering portal, triggering a massive eruption of purple magical energy. The party arrives at a desolate wasteland under a massive moon that illuminates the jagged, rocky terrain. Standing beside Enbai, the female knight trembles with fear while hiding behind her high-defense, ornate shield. A skeletal blue hand bursts through the cracked earth, signaling the awakening of the realm's restless undead guardians. A formidable skeleton warrior fully emerges from the ground, wielding a rusted sword and glowing with malevolent energy. A powerful level 15 skeleton swordsman emerges, forcing the party to confront a dangerous elite enemy immediately. Zhao and the others worry about Anbai's safety, questioning if a solo mage can truly prevail. Anbai eagerly steps forward, excited by the secret realm's high difficulty and the challenge it presents. He remains cautious, deciding to hide his unique skill affixes from the team to maintain his secret advantage. Anbai channels his energy and launches a single fireball directly at the oncoming elite skeleton swordsman. The magical projectile strikes the target, triggering a violent explosion that shatters the undead warrior instantly. Following the blast, the blue skull of the defeated monster rolls across the cold ground toward the party. The stunned companions stare at the remains, questioning if such immense power is possible for a level 10 mage. Anbai smiles, noting that since the monster corpses remain whole, his secret skill affixes remain completely hidden. He then hurls another flaming orb toward the advancing skeleton squad, effortlessly managing the group of elite undead enemies. The resulting blast incinerates the targets, leaving his companions shocked by the overwhelming power of a basic mage. Zhao clarifies that Anbai recently transitioned classes, leaving the others stunned by his rapid and unprecedented growth. Si Ying expresses her absolute shock at the massive power difference currently existing between her and Anbai. Her companion takes offense at the comparison as they briefly bicker about their insignificance in this difficult raid. Zhao Rushan urges them to quicken their pace to avoid slowing down their party's expert leader. Another elite skeleton warrior is obliterated by a precise magical blast before the team can even react. Anbai levels up to 11 after the battle, triggering several powerful passives that boost his core magical statistics. He instructs his teammates to harvest rare materials from the fallen elite monsters before they continue their journey. Zhao Rushan happily gathers a large stash of crystals and bones, eager to handle the necessary grunt work. Anbai uses the system to draw a new golden legendary affix, successfully obtaining the high probability trait. Anbai analyzes the new high probability trait while deciding to fuse it directly into his primary fireball spell. The magical interface glows brightly as the legendary affix successfully merges with his core offensive magic card. He smirks with satisfaction upon confirming that his clever hunch about the skill's utility was correct. Zhao approaches to announce that the cleanup is finished and asks if they should divide the collected loot. Anbai suggests prioritizing the dungeon clearance before dealing with the distribution of the collected loot. The party arrives at an old cemetery gate shrouded in thick fog and lit by eerie stone lanterns. They venture deeper into the graveyard, passing ancient coffins as long shadows stretch across the overgrown and neglected path. The team remains alert while advancing toward the heart of the dungeon, prepared to face any lurking threats. Anbai observes the familiar coffins while recalling a similar, dangerous encounter from his very first dungeon raid. A heavy silence hangs over the desolate cemetery as ancient stone caskets lie scattered among the crooked tombstones. A nearby coffin violently shatters into pieces, releasing a blinding burst of frigid blue magical energy. The knight struggles and groans while bracing herself against the freezing shockwave that threatens to knock her back. A terrifying spectral boss emerges from the green mist, identified by the system as the powerful cursed demon king. Zhao then stares upward in complete shock as the massive entity looms over the party within the dark cemetery. The ethereal monster glares down with its glowing red eye, radiating an aura of absolute and ancient malice. A gargantuan spectral skull appears from the shadows, officially beginning the most dangerous battle the team has faced. Anbai warns his teammates to remain alert as they navigate the overwhelming presence of the powerful spectral boss. To improve their visibility, he decides to launch a fireball to disperse the thick, suffocating green fog surrounding them. His magic fails to erupt into a blast, leaving the party exposed within the dense and eerie atmosphere. Anbai stares in utter disbelief upon realizing the ancient monster possesses the ability to nullify his spells. Countless vengeful ghosts erupt from the darkness, their skeletal faces glowing with an eerie, malevolent blue-green light.